You stand still, noticing the firmness beneath your feet, the ground that feels solid yet subtly alive. It is more than stone or soil. It is a memory, a slow, patient keeper of time. Each grain of sand, each jagged rock, each fold in the land carries stories older than the oldest trees. You inhale, allowing your breath to meet the quiet pulse of the earth, the rhythm of continents shifting imperceptibly, mountains growing imperceptibly, valleys yielding slowly. The crust beneath you is alive in its own patient way. It drifts with a grace that is almost invisible, tectonic plates sliding and colliding over millions of years. You feel this movement in your imagination, a gentle, persistent energy flowing through the solid ground. Mountains press against one another like old friends, their weight deliberate, measured, shaping the land with patient insistence. You sense the quiet strength of rocks that have endured millennia, worn by wind, polished by rivers, carved by glaciers. Imagine the molten heart below, moving with slow, hidden currents. Heat rises gently, stirring the mantle in secret rivers of rock. Though unseen, these flows are vital. They drive the slow dance of continents above, a choreography so gradual that it feels eternal. You picture the ground beneath your feet as a living tapestry, woven from heat, pressure, and time. The earth breathes here, though its breath is measured in millennia rather than seconds, slow enough that only the most patient listener can perceive its rhythm. Rivers are the earth's soft hands, gliding over stone, carving, shaping, and reshaping the land with gentle persistence. Even a small stream is a quiet artist, smoothing edges, forming channels, creating valleys. You imagine a river flowing past your feet, each ripple a story of gradual transformation. You walk alongside it in your mind, following its curves, noticing how the water embraces the contours of rock and soil, softening the sharpness of cliffs and polishing the stones in its bed. Its patience mirrors the slow pulse of the ground itself. Soil beneath your feet hums with unseen life. Tiny organisms move ceaselessly, recycling nutrients, silently transforming matter from one form to another. Each step you take presses upon this hidden world, yet you are connected to it. You feel the subtle interweaving of life and rock, of growth and decay, of permanence and change. The Earth's stories are not only in stone, but in every movement, every microcosm of activity beneath the surface, each contributing to the quiet rhythm you are learning to feel. The mountains rise around you, solemn and unhurried. Their peaks have seen millions of years, each striation and fracture a record of time's passing. Imagine standing at the base of a cliff, your hand brushing its surface, feeling the solidity and weight of years stacked upon years. You sense a quiet patience in the rock, a kind of endurance that dwarfs your own life, yet somehow includes you in its presence. Mountains are both still and moving, strong yet yielding, a paradox written in stone. Air flows gently over the land, carrying the warmth of the sun and the subtle scent of soil and rock. It is the same air that has brushed across the Earth's surface for eons, moving in rhythms shaped by temperature, pressure, and the contours of the land. You breathe in slowly, letting the motion of wind and ground become one with your own breath. Your body begins to sync with the Earth's quiet pulse, your heartbeat echoing the slow stirrings of tectonic plates far below. Even in seeming stillness, the Earth moves. Valleys sink, plains rise, continents drift imperceptibly. Time here is layered and coiled, like pages stacked within a massive book of stone. A hill you see today may have been a riverbed long ago. A canyon that will appear tomorrow may once have been a mountain peak. Each layer of rock, each fold and fracture, tells a story of movement and change, patience and persistence. You let yourself imagine these movements, slow yet unstoppable, as if the planet itself is breathing beneath you. Walking across a hillside, you feel the gentle rise and fall beneath your feet, as if the ground itself carries a memory of past movements. The mountains, valleys, and plains all speak in whispers, the language of time rather than sound. You notice the subtle connections between water, soil, and stone. The river carves, the glacier polishes, the wind smooths, and together these forces sculpt the landscape into forms both familiar and strange. You sense that everything is linked, the hidden and the visible, the past and the present. Night begins to fall, softening the edges of the land, stretching shadows across the hills and valleys. The earth exhales and you feel it. Its song is quiet, almost imperceptible, but persistent. It is a music made of stone and water, of wind and soil, a harmony that continues even when you are not listening. You lie down, imagining the slow shifts beneath you, the molten rivers far below, the tectonic dance shaping every contour. It is a reminder that life, change, and movement exist on scales far greater than your own, yet that you are part of them. Even as darkness deepens, there is a gentle awareness that the story of the earth is ongoing. Mountains will rise, valleys will deepen, rivers will carve new paths. The land carries on its quiet, patient work. You feel your small presence within this vast timeline, and yet your consciousness allows you to witness, to connect, to be part of the continuity. The hum beneath your feet is both comforting and humbling, a lullaby of slow, enduring movement. And as you close your eyes, imagining the gentle pressure of rocks and the patient drift of continents, a thought lingers at the edge of your mind. What other hidden rhythms exist, quietly shaping the world, waiting for you to notice them? You imagine the earth beneath your feet as alive, moving slowly, patiently, with a rhythm that outlasts human lifetimes. Beneath the solid crust, there is a river of molten rock, glowing with quiet energy, pushing and pulling in gentle insistence. Magma is warm, liquid stone, flowing through hidden channels, carving out the unseen shapes of the world above. It moves like honey poured on a cool morning, slow, deliberate, yet unstoppable. As you imagine this, you feel the pulse of the earth itself, steady and patient, beneath the surface of everyday life. Each eruption is a soft whisper of creation. A volcano may sleep for decades, and yet, when it awakens, it reminds you that the ground beneath is never entirely still. Lava pours outward, red and gold, tracing paths across the land. You see it as rivers of fire, yet you also sense their calm inevitability. They are shaping the islands, the mountains, the plains, leaving fertile soil in their wake. Life grows in response to these molten gifts, just as your thoughts and dreams grow in response to quiet reflection. You picture the interior of the earth as layers, each with its own rhythm. The crust is thin, a fragile skin, hiding the warmth below. Beneath that, the mantle flows slowly, carrying with it minerals and energy, like a vast, invisible heartbeat. The core hums quietly, dense and bright, a sun trapped inside our planet. Each layer moves according to its own laws, yet together they form a harmony, a continuous creation story written in rock. You think about the lava that meets the ocean. There, the fire of the earth touches the cool embrace of water. Steam rises in soft plumes, curling like smoke from a candle, disappearing into the sky. Islands are born in moments that feel eternal, shaping coastlines and opening new spaces for life to take root. You can almost hear the gentle sigh of the earth as it adjusts to its own creations, as if acknowledging the delicate balance it maintains. The water cools the lava, turning it to stone, and in this transformation you recognize the patience required for change to occur. In some places, lava flows slowly down valleys, filling them with warmth. You imagine standing beside one, feeling its heat radiate softly, knowing it is not threatening, only persistent. It reshapes hills, reroutes rivers, and fertilizes the soil with rich minerals. Life here is resilient. Trees and grasses find ways to flourish, and in this gentle persistence, you find a reflection of your own quiet growth. Just as magma moves unseen, beneath the surface, so too do your thoughts, your intentions, and your hopes, shaping your path in ways that may not be immediately visible. The colors of molten rock shift as it cools, from bright orange to deep red to blackened stone. You picture the transition like a day moving into night, the warmth lingering even as it becomes still. Each formation tells a story of movement, of energy, of time passing in ways both imperceptible and monumental. You notice the texture of hardened lava, rough and pitted in places, smooth and glassy in others. It is evidence of the Earth's many moods, patient, forceful, nurturing, and it invites you to slow down and notice the subtleties around you. Volcanic ash drifts softly over the land, settling like a blanket on forests and fields. You imagine each tiny particle as a messenger from deep within the Earth, carrying minerals and whispers of creation. Ash clouds can be vast, moving with wind, yet they settle gently, nourishing the ground. The Earth recycles itself in these quiet ways, reminding you that even endings are beginnings, that what may seem destructive carries within it the seed of growth. You consider the rivers of lava that have carved deep canyons, creating valleys and cliffs, forming intricate patterns across continents. Each layer of cooled rock is a memory of movement, of energy released, of heat transforming the shape of the world. Standing at the edge of one of these formations, you sense the patience of the planet, the slow accumulation of effort over centuries. You feel a kinship with this process, a reminder that meaningful change rarely happens all at once, but in gradual, deliberate steps. Beneath the surface, the mantle continues its quiet flow. Magma pulses like a heartbeat beneath your feet, unseen but undeniable. It reminds you that much of the work of creation occurs invisibly, in places you cannot observe directly. The Earth's energy does not rush. It moves with an awareness of time that stretches far beyond human comprehension. And in this, you sense a quiet comfort, that growth, change, and transformation are always occurring, even when you cannot see them. As night falls over volcanic landscapes, lava reflects the dim light of stars, a gentle glow against the darkness. You imagine the slow cooling of molten rock, the soft steam rising from new islands, the warmth lingering under your feet. You notice how the Earth's movements are not violent outbursts but rather patient, persistent rhythms, shaping the surface without hurry. Each new formation is a gentle reminder of the Earth's creative power, a lullaby of molten stone, urging calm observation and quiet reflection. You sense how the cycles of fire and stone mirror the cycles within yourself. Times of movement, times of stillness, times when warmth spreads slowly beneath the surface of your being. The Earth and your own inner world are not separate. They echo each other. As the lava cools to stone, so too do your thoughts settle, leaving fertile ground for new ideas, new dreams, new understanding. You feel the patience of the Earth filling your own mind, a soft rhythm that quiets anxiety and opens space for gentle curiosity. And as you breathe in sync with the Earth, the rivers of fire beneath the crust continue their hidden journey, carving, shaping, transforming. You are aware that nothing is ever truly finished. The landscape is always forming, always shifting, always becoming. In this, you find solace, understanding that the quiet persistence of molten rock is a mirror of life itself, a slow unfolding that carries purpose without urgency. And in the soft glow of the cooling stone, as night deepens and the stars shine above, you begin to wonder what other hidden forces shape the world you walk upon, what other quiet energies lie beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered, waiting to teach you patience, awe, and the gentle art of noticing. You begin by feeling the Earth beneath you, not as solid and fixed, but as fluid and alive, moving with a patience that exceeds human comprehension. The ground beneath your feet is more than dirt or rock. It is a living mosaic, vast plates of stone floating atop a dense, slowly flowing mantle. These plates drift imperceptibly, centimeter by centimeter, inch by inch, across the deep underworld of the planet. You sense their immense size, stretching thousands of kilometers, carrying mountains, valleys, and rivers as passengers on a languid voyage. Time here is different. You don't measure it in years, decades, or even centuries. You measure it in the slow sway of continents, the birth of oceans, and the quiet closing of seas that once shimmered with life. It is a rhythm that humbles you, a reminder that permanence is an illusion, and yet, the Earth is steady in its continuity. You imagine the Atlantic slowly widening, the Pacific narrowing, like tides of stone, each motion deliberate, inevitable, yet almost imperceptible. The edges of the plates are delicate lines of interaction, Here, where continents meet, the land folds, crumbles, and rises. Mountains are born not overnight, but over millennia, through a soft, relentless pressure that lifts and sculpts the earth like a master potter shaping clay. You imagine the Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies, as gentle swells in the ocean of stone beneath your awareness, monuments to the patient force of friction and movement. Each peak, each ridge, each gentle slope tells a story of unseen energy, of time stretched so wide it feels almost infinite. You drift further into the story of oceans. They are not just bodies of water but living companions to the continents, shaping and being shaped by them. You picture the Atlantic again, widening slowly, as magma rises at its mid-ocean ridge, pushing plates apart with silent insistence. Beneath the waves, new crust forms, cooled by the ocean's touch, solidifying into a home for coral and fish. You feel the warmth of molten rock, the coolness of seawater, the contrast of heat and chill that drives the slow dance of creation. Somewhere else, another ocean slowly retreats. Perhaps the Tethys Sea, once wide and warm, now gone, its waters replaced by land rising from the depths. You imagine the slow drainage, the quiet surrender of the sea to time, leaving behind fertile plains, mountain ranges, and sedimentary stories written in stone. The cycle of opening and closing is continuous. The earth never rests, yet never hurries. It is a lullaby in motion, a reminder that patience carries the power to shape worlds. Between continents, trenches form, deep and mysterious. You picture the Mariana Trench, descending like a folded curtain into darkness. It is not frightening but awe-inspiring, a silent monument to the forces pulling Earth apart and together at once. Plates dive beneath one another here, recycling the crust, returning it to the molten mantle from which it came. You feel a soft reassurance in this process. Even endings feed beginnings, loss feeds creation. The land you walk on, the mountains you see, the oceans you sail, they are all the result of these quiet, unstoppable motions. Imagine the continents themselves, gliding as though on invisible rails, colliding with soft inevitability. When they meet, the earth buckles, mountains rise, and valleys are squeezed between enormous forces. You feel the power without fear. The violence is slow and controlled, spread over such immense spans of time that it feels more like a gentle exhale than a crash. You sense that life itself is attuned to this rhythm, evolving along coastlines, settling in fertile valleys, adapting to highs and lows dictated by the patient hands of stone. And yet, movement is not always visible. You imagine standing at the edge of a quiet shore, waves lapping gently, imagining the land beneath your feet moving ever so slightly. In a day, the shift is imperceptible. In a century, a mountain range may rise or erode. In a million years, oceans vanish, continents collide, new seas are born. You feel the stretch of time inside your mind, a slow expansion that mirrors the gentle rise and fall of your own breathing. You inhale, thinking of eons, and exhale, sensing the calm inevitability of the Earth's pulse. You wander along the edges of continents in your imagination, where land meets ocean. Rift valleys open like slow tears, splitting the ground, letting magma surface and reshape the terrain. Mid-ocean ridges are the seams of a slowly stitched quilt, holding the world together while allowing it to change. You sense a quiet creativity here, a reminder that the world is always in progress. Nothing is permanent, yet nothing is lost. Every form transforms, bends, and returns to the larger rhythm of the planet. The seas respond to the continents as dancers respond to one another. Currents trace the shapes of land, eroding, building, and shaping. Water and stone move in an endless dialogue, an intimate conversation that is invisible in human time, yet eternal in geological measure. You imagine underwater mountains, volcanic peaks, and ridges that rise like the spines of sleeping giants. These forms guide currents, nurture ecosystems, and whisper to the earth above, a subtle reminder that life follows the pulse of stone. You sense that continents are not just drifting, they are storytelling. Their motion narrates the rise and fall of civilizations, the migration of species, the the slow carving of rivers and valleys. Each tectonic shift is a sentence, each mountain a paragraph, each ocean a chapter. You feel the narrative of the earth unfolding gently, rhythmically, as if it were whispering just to you. There is a soft reassurance here. Everything moves at its own pace, and patience is the quiet architect of beauty. As you follow this motion in your mind, you feel small yet connected. Your life is brief in comparison, yet it is part of the same pulse. You inhale the enormity of time, exhale your awareness into the slow dance of continents, and let your imagination glide over ridges and trenches, seas and plains. You feel your body mirrored in the movement of the world, each heartbeat a small echo of the vast, patient rhythm beneath your feet. The continents drift onward, unstoppable yet gentle. Oceans form, vanish, and reform like sighs of the planet itself. Mountains rise and wear away, rivers carve paths through valleys, and life adapts quietly, patiently, in time with the slow, inevitable flow. You feel the majesty of this process, the comfort of constant, graceful change. It is not abrupt, not chaotic. It is a calm, meditative unfolding, a reminder that transformation is natural, universal, and reassuring. And as your mind drifts with these giants, you sense that beneath every motion, every collision, every new birth of land or sea, there is a secret waiting, a story yet untold, one that hums beneath the surface, whispering of forces unseen in journeys still to come, guiding you gently toward the next chapter of this patient, living world. You step softly into the presence of mountains, feeling their immense patience before even noticing their height. At first, you see them as shapes on the horizon, pale and distant, but as you approach, you sense the stories written in stone. Each fold, each rise, is a whisper from deep time, a reminder that change can be gentle, deliberate, and enduring. You are walking along the shoulders of giants, tracing paths carved over millions of years. The ground beneath your feet is not idle. It hums quietly with pressure, a slow compression that bends rock like soft clay, though it takes centuries for your human eyes to see the effect. Plate tectonics, the invisible rhythm of the Earth's crust, works patiently, a dance of immense forces moving in ways you can only imagine. You sense their collisions not as sudden shocks, but as a graceful push and pull, like two dancers gliding, pressing lightly against each other, shaping and reshaping forms without haste. Rocks, once flat and featureless, fold and uplift. Granite, once molten and fluid deep underground, rises slowly, its ascent measured in millimeters per year, yet eventually reaching heights that pierce clouds. You imagine standing atop such a rising peak, feeling the subtle, unceasing shift beneath your feet. Each movement is imperceptible in a single day, yet over centuries, the terrain you walk across has been transformed into ridges and cliffs, valleys and plateaus. You notice how the slopes are not perfect, like they were crafted by human hands, but are full of gentle undulations, jagged edges softened by time. Water and ice mingle with the rocks, wearing them down as slowly as the plates push them upward. Glaciers carve through these ancient stones, smoothing and polishing surfaces with quiet diligence. Snow melts, streams form, and the mountains breathe in the rhythm of erosion, a gentle reminder that creation and destruction are partners in this slow ballet. Standing in a valley, you observe the way shadows fall across each peak. Light and dark reveal the textures of uplift, folds like wrinkles in a sleeping giant's skin. You can trace the history of collisions, oceans closed, continents joined, mountains rising where once there was nothing but the flat expanse of sand or sea. You imagine the forces beneath, molten rock pressing upward, lithosphere flexing and cracking, the hidden energy that makes such grand sculptures possible. It is not violent. It is methodical, deliberate, almost like a painter applying strokes with infinite patience. Your fingers brush over stones along your path. Some are sharp, fractured by sudden shifts in the crust, while others are smooth, worn by wind, water, and time. You feel the weight of millions of years in each grain, a reminder that the Earth's history is recorded not in books, but in textures and layers, in ridges and crevices that hold secrets older than life itself. Fossils peek from fractured layers, tiny witnesses to epochs long gone, silent companions to the mountain's slow ascent. You notice the small plants clinging to cracks, resilient and patient. Mosses and lichens sense the mineral richness beneath, taking root in the quietest niches. Even life here adapts to patience, growing slowly, following the mountain's rhythm. You feel a kinship with this slowness, letting your breath match the cadence of uplift and erosion, imagining that you, too, are moving with a rhythm far older than your own. The sky above is expansive, yet it feels drawn down by the peaks, as if the mountains themselves are pulling the clouds into their folds. You watch weather move along ridges, winds spiraling upward and around cliffs. Each gust and current interacts with the stone, sculpting surfaces ever so slightly, a reminder that the world is in constant, quiet negotiation. Even air and water are participants in this dance, shaping landscapes with imperceptible grace. You step along a ridgeline, feeling the precarious balance of forces. Gravity tugs steadily downward, yet the tectonic push beneath rises ever upward. Rock layers bend, fold, and sometimes fracture, creating cliffs that seem impossibly vertical. Landslides whisper the inevitability of change, though they are rare gestures compared to the patient persistence of plate movement. You sense the deep patience of mountains, enduring storms, sun, wind, and ice. Their forms a testament to time's quiet artistry. High above, peaks reach toward the sky, yet they are never static. Each summit tells the story of a collision. Ancient continents converging, folding under immense pressure, sending stone upward. You imagine the planet as a slow-moving clock, each tick measured in millennia. There is no rush, no urgency, only the persistent shaping of matter, forming forms that inspire awe and reflection. You feel your own heartbeat slow, syncing with the mountain's long, deliberate pulse. Streams trickle down from hidden glaciers, winding through valleys and crevices. Their soft murmurs echo the patient shaping of stone. Water is a sculptor as gentle as the tectonic plates, carving channels, polishing cliffs, leaving pebbles that have traveled from distant heights. You listen to the sound of movement, slow, persistent, reassuring. Even in this stillness, the world is alive, constantly transforming with quiet elegance. You pause on a high plateau, taking in the panorama. Layers of rock reveal the Earth's past. Sedimentary bands, igneous intrusions, metamorphic folds. You run your fingers over textures that record temperature, pressure, and chemical change, a narrative older than humanity. You imagine ancient oceans, deserts, and forests that once lay where you now stand, all reshaped by forces patient and persistent. This is the poetry of geology, a story told not in words, but in stone, scale, and time. As you move along the slopes, you notice subtle patterns, parallel folds, fractures, and the quiet angles of erosion. They are signs of forces both immense and slow, reminding you that the grandeur of the mountains is built incrementally. There is no haste here, only the continuity of change, the elegance of persistence, and the serenity of endurance. You breathe in deeply, feeling the cool mountain air fill your lungs, carrying the scent of stone, pine, and distant snow. The day softens into twilight. Shadows lengthen, stretching across ridges and valleys. Colors shift from gold to lavender, then to deep blue. You notice the mountains exhaling slowly into the night, as if aware of the cycles they endure. Day and night, growth and erosion, rise and fall. There is a quiet dignity in this rhythm, a reassurance that even the tallest peaks are part of a larger, patient process. As darkness settles, you feel the mountains continue their ascent beneath the cloak of night. Their motion is imperceptible to the eye, yet it persists, persistent and calm. You sense the weight of millions of years in each ridge, the quiet labor of uplift, and the gentle erosion that softens their edges. You feel connected to the continuum of forces that shape the world, to the slow heartbeat of the planet itself. And as you descend from the heights, the peaks behind you continue their silent rise, reminding you that the world is always in motion, even when it appears still, and that patience, persistence, and quiet transformation can create wonders that endure far beyond a single lifetime. You begin your journey beneath the waves, where light softens and water thickens into a gentle, flowing blanket around you. The surface above shimmers faintly, a distant ceiling through which sunlight filters in scattered threads. Here, everything moves slowly, in a rhythm that is not rushed, that does not need an audience. The ocean floor stretches beneath you, vast and quiet, telling stories older than any living memory. You sense it not with eyes alone, but with the subtle pull of gravity, the pressure of water, and the deep hum of the Earth's pulse resonating in your bones. You drift toward a mid-ocean ridge, a mountain range hidden beneath the waves. These ridges are not like the jagged peaks of mountains you might climb on land. They rise with a soft curvature, gentle slopes that swell like the slow inhalation of the earth itself. Lava oozes quietly from cracks in the crust, cooling and forming new rock as if the planet is sewing its own skin together. You imagine the heat, the molten river of earth beneath the rigid crust, a heartbeat forming new land in silence. Each ridge is a seam in the earth's tapestry, a line where the planet stretches and grows, pushing oceans apart with tender insistence. As you glide over the ridge, you notice the textures beneath your fingers, if your hands could reach into the water's memory. Basalt spreads in sheets, patterned with the history of slow eruptions and the settling of mineral grains. Tiny creatures drift in the currents above, oblivious to the vast geologic forces shaping the world beneath them. Yet every movement, every ripple, is part of this quiet choreography. You realize that life above and earth below are not separate. They are intertwined, moving together in the slow dance of creation. Deeper still, the ocean floor begins to fold, sinking into trenches that run like secret rivers through the seafloor. These are places of mystery, where one piece of the earth's crust dives beneath another, disappearing into the mantle in a process called subduction. You feel a kind of reverent awe as you imagine a slab of crust descending slowly, kilometers at a time, into a glowing, viscous layer of rock that behaves more like honey than stone. The movement is imperceptible in human time, yet relentless, patient, inevitable. It is a reminder that the earth is alive in ways we cannot see, sculpting landscapes far below the surface where no human foot has ever tread. Above these trenches, the water feels heavier, denser, as if it knows the weight of what lies beneath. You float over abyssal plains, vast stretches of nearly flat land that stretch for miles without interruption. Sediment drifts lazily across these plains, a soft, powdery carpet of mineral dust and the remains of creatures that once lived near the sunlit surface. Each particle carries a story, of plankton that lived and died, of volcanic eruptions far away, of continents slowly grinding against one another. You feel connected to this timeline, as though every grain beneath you is a note in a melody that has been playing for eons, waiting for you to listen. The ridges and trenches are not simply static features. They are part of a breathing, moving earth. You imagine the mantle convecting beneath the crust, slow currents dragging the lithosphere along. Like a gentle conveyor belt, it carries continents and oceans across the face of the planet. You envision the vast dance of tectonic plates, gliding past each other with a quiet friction, building mountains, opening seas, and swallowing old crust into the depths. There is a rhythm to it, a pulse you can feel if you close your eyes and allow your mind to slow, syncing with the heartbeat of the deep earth. As you drift above a mid-ocean ridge once more, you notice the chimneys of black smokers, geysers spewing mineral-rich water into the cold, dark ocean. These underwater vents are like veins in the earth, carrying heat and nutrients to the surface in a quiet, steady flow. You imagine the tiny ecosystems that cling to these vents, creatures adapted to extremes, living entirely in the shadow of molten rock. Their survival seems miraculous, yet it is a natural outcome of this planetary machinery, a testament to resilience in a world that is constantly renewing itself. The ocean floor is also a storyteller. Magnetic stripes etched into the basalt record the shifting polarity of Earth's magnetic field over millions of years. Each stripe is like a barcode, a memory of past reversals, a silent testimony to time's passage. You imagine yourself tracing these stripes with your fingertips, reading the history of the planet one line at a time. It is humbling, this reminder that the Earth carries its own archive, indifferent to human lifetimes, yet welcoming any mind willing to perceive it. Above you, the water stirs in subtle currents, shaped by wind, temperature, and salinity. You realize that the ocean itself is a participant in the Earth's slow rhythm, distributing heat, nutrients, and life across the planet. Water is the medium through which the seafloor communicates with the surface, a translator of deep geologic forces into waves that lap gently against distant shores. You feel this connection as a soothing pulse, a quiet reassurance that even in the hidden depths, life and motion persist. The vast silence is not empty. It hums softly with energy and potential. Each ridge and trench, each fold and valley, is part of an ongoing story, a slow unfolding of forces that will continue long after the human mind has turned away. You feel a profound sense of peace in this continuity, the knowledge that the Earth's movements are steady, predictable in their own way, and entirely unhurried. You rise slowly, letting the ocean floor recede beneath you. The ridges swell like gentle hills fading into the horizon. The trenches sink silently, whispering their secrets to the mantle below. You carry with you a sense of scale, of time, and of patience, understanding that the Earth beneath the waves is alive, breathing, and creating quietly, endlessly. The water above shimmers faintly as sunlight begins to filter more clearly, hinting at the surface far above. You feel the gentle pull toward shallower waters, toward currents that will carry you into new stories, new rhythms of Earth's movement. The pulse of mid-ocean ridges and deep trenches lingers in your mind, a soft memory of the planet's slow dance, leading you naturally toward the exploration of mountains and continents rising above the waves. Faults and fractures trace the Earth's tender scars, soft folds in a constantly shifting skin. You follow the subtle art of stress and release, understanding earthquakes not as chaos but as the planet's careful adjustment. Each tremor is a message, gentle yet undeniable. Beneath your feet, the world hums with hidden motion. The crust, though solid to your touch, is alive with subtle tension, coiling and uncoiling like a quiet breath. You imagine standing on a vast, invisible fabric, threads of rock stretching and bending, waiting for the moment when their restraint becomes too much. Here, the Earth speaks in vibrations, not in shouts. You feel the weight of patience in the rocks, how they endure years of silent stress. Fault lines, those invisible seams, are not wounds but careful seams sewn to accommodate movement. They remind you that even in tension, there is purpose, a slow choreography of release that shapes mountains and valleys alike. Each tremor, small or large, is a whisper that something is adjusting, balancing, settling into harmony. As you walk along the imagined ridges of these folds, your mind softens into the rhythm of geological time. The movements are imperceptible to daily life, yet over centuries, they build entire landscapes. You picture a hillside, its slope forming slowly, inch by inch, as if a hand were gently pushing soil and stone into place. You notice how patient the Earth must be, waiting decades or centuries for a single adjustment. In the quiet of your awareness, you hear the subtle symphony of the crust's motion. Microquakes that sing beneath cities, landslides that glide softly into valleys, and the low rumble of a distant fault finally releasing. You imagine these events not as disasters but as necessary breaths, the planet's way of keeping balance. Stress builds slowly, stored like the gentle pull of a bowstring. Then, release comes in pulses, sometimes sudden, sometimes barely perceptible, reminding you that movement is as natural as stillness. You lean into the science behind it, feeling grounded by understanding. The lithosphere, made of rigid plates, floats atop the slightly pliable asthenosphere, shifting imperceptibly. These plates collide, scrape past, or pull away from one another in a silent dialogue written in stone. You think of the San Andreas Fault, the Himalayas, the Andes, lines on a map that are living, breathing zones of energy, teaching patience and inevitability. With each example, your mind grows more attuned to the poetry in geology. Mountains are not just stone. They are the record of countless micro-adjustments, the cumulative work of time and pressure. Valleys are not empty. They are the slow release of tension, channels carved by invisible stress and the patient movement of water, wind, and gravity. You begin to see that the planet's quiet wrinkles are not random, but intentional, a way to maintain equilibrium. As you imagine standing atop a ridge above a fault line, you notice the subtle signs of energy moving below. A slight tremor, the tiny creak of stone, a shift in the ground beneath your feet. These are the soft indicators of change. You imagine placing your hand upon the earth and feeling its heartbeat in micro-vibrations, the slow rhythm of stress accumulating and releasing over decades. It is a reminder that even solid matter is alive in its own time. The Earth's quiet wrinkle teaches you the value of attunement. You feel the patience embedded in the rock, the necessity of tension and release, and the gentle inevitability of change. You are not a passive observer. In this meditation, you are part of the planet's pulse, sensing each subtle motion, each small tremor, as an intimate communication. You understand that earthquakes, like the folds and ridges in the crust, are neither sudden nor random. They are the Earth's method of breathing. You watch, in your mind's eye, a distant city perched near a fault. You imagine how carefully buildings are designed to move with the Earth's rhythm, absorbing energy rather than resisting it. Even human engineering, with all its ingenuity, is a gesture of respect for these quiet adjustments. You feel a soft admiration for the balance between natural force and careful adaptation. Then you consider the invisible forces at play. Beneath the lithosphere, heat rises in slow convection currents, dragging plates with it, nudging them gently over millennia. Magma shifts, rock bends, and pressure builds in secret. You visualize it as a slow, subterranean dance, one that you can't see, yet you can feel through its effects. There is beauty in this hidden choreography, a rhythm that mirrors the quiet pulse in your own body as you breathe deeply, settling into your meditative awareness. You explore the science of aftershocks, those subtle echoes following a larger tremor. They are not mistakes, nor random disruptions, but necessary corrections, gentle realignments that allow the Earth to find a new balance. You imagine a series of tiny waves rippling outward, each one a whisper of adjustment, fading softly into the surrounding crust. Even these seemingly minor shifts have significance, a reminder that balance is maintained not in stasis but in gentle motion. In this reflection, you begin to notice parallels in your own life. Just as the Earth carries and releases tension, you too can sense when a moment requires patience and when release is inevitable. You feel an unspoken connection to this ancient process, the same forces shaping mountains, shaping the quiet growth within yourself. The Earth is teaching, through its slow and deliberate movement, the value of listening, waiting, and adapting. You imagine the horizon where mountains meet the sky, formed by countless fault movements over eons. You sense the weight of geological history, each wrinkle, fold, and tremor a testament to the Earth's resilience. You notice the serenity in this continuity, the knowledge that the planet has endured these motions for millions of years and will continue to do so. It is a reminder of persistence, of the subtle power inherent in patience and gentle correction. Finally, your awareness drifts to the soft vibrations that continue beneath the surface, imperceptible yet persistent. You realize that every tremor, every adjustment, is a quiet conversation with the cosmos, a gentle gesture of balance. You feel yourself aligned with this rhythm, your breath slowing to match the Earth's own pace, a shared cadence of tension and release. In this serene understanding that the story of a single fault line is part of a larger narrative, a continuum of subtle shifts and patient corrections, guiding the landscape toward equilibrium. And as the Earth folds and shifts beneath the stars, you feel the quiet promise that every wrinkle, every tremor, is part of a gentle, unending conversation, one that will carry its story softly into the next moment of discovery, hinting at forces deeper still, waiting just below the surface. You step softly on the ground, feeling the subtle pulse beneath your feet. It is not a heartbeat, not a rhythm of life, but the whisper of tectonic plates moving in a patient, invisible ballet. Mountains rise slowly, imperceptibly, their jagged peaks telling tales older than any human memory. You imagine the Earth's surface like a vast, quilted canvas, stitched together by sheets of rock that drift and fold, colliding and sliding past one another in silence measured over millions of years. Beneath you, the lithosphere shifts, a slow conveyor belt of stone. Oceans spread and retreat, continents drift like lazy dancers across a stage that never ends. The plates carry islands, mountains, and deserts, shaping climates and carving valleys that will cradle rivers for eons. You feel the enormity of it, the patient patience of the planet, moving without hurry, leaving traces that only time can read. Each rock beneath your feet holds secrets. Sedimentary layers stack like pages in a diary, each stratum a line of quiet testimony. You imagine a grain of sand settling at the bottom of a shallow sea, its journey unhurried. Layer by layer, sediments compress, minerals intertwine, and pressure turns simple sand into solid stone. Millions of years pass as if in a dream, yet each layer remembers the day it formed, each mineral a letter in a script written by wind, water, and time. Mountains, once molten and fiery, cool into rigid ridges. Earthquakes ripple through them, unseen shocks that bend and fracture the stone. You imagine standing in a canyon, the walls revealing ribbons of color. Deep reds, muted browns, pale yellows, each stripe a moment captured in the slow turning of the planet. These colors are more than pigments. They are the echoes of chemical reactions, the quiet signatures of elements mingling under heat and pressure. Time has painted on stone with infinite patience, leaving a record not hurried by clocks or calendars, but by the gentle, relentless forces of nature. You notice the rivers tracing the edges of continents, carving valleys and plains as if tracing the outlines of the Earth's memory. The water moves, yet it is patient too, eroding, carrying, depositing, leaving sediments that will someday harden into new rock. You sense the cycles in all things, uplift, erosion, deposition, and the way each moment contributes to the vast story of the planet. It is a story without urgency, yet profound in its quiet authority. The plates themselves carry ancient histories. You can imagine a single slab of granite, once molten deep within the earth, rising through millennia to form part of a mountain range. It has endured heat, pressure, and movement, yet remains, a stoic witness to the passage of time. You imagine running your fingers along its cool, rough surface, feeling the faint traces of mineral grains aligned by forces you cannot see but can sense. There is a rhythm in these stones, a pulse of creation and transformation that mirrors the slow unfolding of the universe itself. Volcanoes erupt occasionally, reminders of the dynamic energy stored beneath the plates. Lava flows like a liquid memory, reshaping landscapes, adding layers to the story of Earth. You watch as cooled flows crack into jagged forms, their surfaces etched with the memory of fiery motion. Each eruption is both an ending and a beginning, a renewal of the land that will, in turn, be weathered and worn, folded into the next chapter of the planet's narrative. You drift in thought to the oceans again. The seabed records movements of plates in subtle ways. Trenches plunge into darkness. Ridges rise like spines beneath the waves. You feel as if you are floating above a world of slow, deliberate motion, a choreography hidden beneath the surface. Life above adapts, flourishes, and recedes, but the plates move with a constancy that anchors the rhythm of the earth. There is a meditation in understanding this, a gentle reassurance that some things, like the movement of stone and the passage of eons, remain steady and true. Glaciers and ice sheets, though ephemeral in human terms, carve and shape the land with patient force. You imagine them sliding imperceptibly, grinding rock, leaving polished surfaces and striations, delicate fingerprints of enormous power. They remind you that time is patient, that even the heaviest, slowest, most enduring forces leave traces readable only when you pause, when you lean close and observe. Each groove and polish is a story told quietly, without fanfare, yet fully present if you choose to notice. As you wander through valleys and across mountain slopes in your mind, you begin to feel the weight of deep time pressing gently on your awareness. It is not oppressive, It is comforting. You see yourself as a fleeting observer, a guest on a stage built over billions of years. You notice the way erosion shapes cliffs into curves, the way rivers scribe meandering lines, the way wind scatters fine dust to distant plains. Every movement is gentle, slow, deliberate, a lullaby of stone and sediment, of pressure and release. You pause on a cliff edge, imagining the horizon where mountains meet sky. Plate boundaries converge here, ridges fold into valleys, faults trace their invisible paths. You feel the patience of the planet in your bones, a deep, steady rhythm that does not rush but moves inevitably forward. There is an intimacy in this knowledge, a sense of belonging to a timeline so vast that your own life feels like a single breath. You breathe slowly, matching the rhythm of eons passing, letting the stillness of deep time seep into your mind. Even as human time feels urgent, the earth reminds you that there is grace in patience. You sense the layers of stone beneath your feet as a quiet testament to endurance, transformation, and continuity. Every fold and fracture tells you that change is slow, predictable, and inevitable. You imagine walking over lands shaped by unseen forces, feeling the subtle tilts of hills and valleys, the gentle rise of mountains, the patient flattening of plains. It is a lesson in humility, in attentiveness, in reverence for processes that outlast any single moment. The sun begins to lower in your mind's eye, casting golden light over the landscape. Shadows lengthen across ridges, and the subtle colors of mineral layers glow softly. You feel the gentle tug of gravity as mountains press downward, glaciers melt into streams, and sediments drift to settle in quiet basins. All of it is connected, a slow, whispering network of movement, deposition, and transformation. You realize that the Earth's story is endless, each chapter blending seamlessly into the next, each moment folded into the next with patience beyond imagination. And as you settle your attention on the rhythm of these ancient movements, you sense the questions that will follow, the mysteries of forces still unseen, of cycles still unfolding, of energy traveling in currents both vast and hidden. The stones beneath your feet, worn and patient, hint at the next story waiting to be discovered, the quiet continuation of time, the unhurried heartbeat of the world itself. You begin by closing your eyes and sensing the slow heartbeat of the earth beneath your feet, deep below the surface where no light reaches. A furnace hums quietly. It is ancient, vast, and patient, moving in rhythms that have persisted for millions of years. You imagine the warmth, their molten rock flowing in hidden rivers, carrying heat upward, pressing gently against layers of stone. There is no rush here, only a steady, deliberate pulse that shapes the very skin of your world. You picture a volcano, standing tall not as a threat but as a sentinel of creation. Its slopes are calm under the morning sun, yet beneath its surface life stirs in a slow molten dance. You feel the heat radiating through the ground, subtle at first, then insistent, as though the earth is reminding you of its quiet power. Lava is not simply fire, it is a sculptor molding mountains and carving valleys with patience unmatched. You notice how it flows, how it bends to the contours of the land, forming new shapes without hurry, leaving behind trails of stone that will eventually bloom with life. As the molten rock rises, it cools, gradually forming intricate patterns in stone. You imagine running your fingers along the edge of a cooled lava river, tracing the tiny crystals that glimmer like sunlight caught in glass. Each ridge, each sharp corner, each smooth curve tells a story of heat and pressure, of transformation, occurring slowly, deliberately beneath your gaze. You feel your own body begin to mirror this rhythm, your breath lengthening, your muscles relaxing, your mind opening to the patient artistry of the earth. The earth's fire moves in cycles, pressure builds beneath the crust, forcing magma to seek its path upward. Sometimes it finds a hidden fracture, a secret vent, and rises silently, reshaping the land quietly, almost imperceptibly. Other times it erupts, spilling molten warmth into valleys, reshaping rivers and creating islands in the ocean. Even in eruption there is a quiet dignity here. Fire is not chaos, it is transformation, a soft force carving beauty through persistence and patience. You let yourself imagine standing near such an eruption, not in danger but in awe of the slow artistry of creation. Colors shift in the molten flows, from deep, almost black reds to brilliant oranges and soft yellows. You notice the edges cool, first forming jagged, delicate crystals that shimmer faintly in the fading light. These cooled edges, though rigid, are only temporary. Over years, wind, water, and time will smooth and soften them, integrating them into the greater landscape. You think of yourself in the same way, ever-changing, shaped by forces both visible and invisible, learning to find calm in the heat of transformation. You watch rivers of lava move through valleys, As if they were guided by an unseen hand, sometimes they pause, pooling in shallow depressions, then slowly continue bending around obstacles, filling spaces and creating entirely new terrain. It is a patient force, a gentle sculptor working tirelessly to shape a world. You imagine this work mirrored in your own life, where small steady actions, soft consistent effort reshape your days and your thoughts. Just as lava reshapes the earth beneath your imagination, the planet breathes. You picture the molten currents in the mantle rising in waves, slow and rhythmic. They twist and turn, forming pockets of warmth, igniting chemical reactions and producing gases that will eventually rise to the surface. These gases are light, fleeting, yet they hint at the deep energy below. A reminder that even the earth has layers of movement and life unseen. You feel a kinship with this quiet energy, sensing your own inner warmth, a pulse that guides you gently forward. Some volcanoes sleep for centuries, holding their heat silently beneath the crust. Their stillness is not emptiness, but a quiet patience. The earth gathers strength, waiting for the right moment to express itself, to mold the landscape in its soft, enduring way. You imagine standing on the rim of such a volcano, feeling the invisible warmth beneath, understanding that even when nothing appears to be happening, transformation is always underway. The land, like your thoughts, continues to shift and settle, quietly building what will emerge in its own time. You imagine the creation of islands from these slow, persistent flows. Lava reaches the sea, cooling instantly, meeting water with a gentle hiss. New land emerges from the ocean, not with a roar but with subtle persistence, sculpting. Tiny plants will eventually take root, birds will visit, and the land will slowly become part of a living ecosystem. You realize that fire beneath the surface is not destruction, it is preparation. It is an unseen artist patiently shaping a world for life, teaching you that transformation often begins quietly before it becomes visible. As you sink deeper into this meditation, you feel the heat of the earth in your chest, a warmth that is steady and reassuring. Each breath you take aligns with the movement of molten rock beneath the surface. You imagine the earth as a living entity, patient and wise, teaching through the slow unfolding of its inner fire. You sense that everything beneath the surface, heat, pressure, molten rockies, purposeful, creating conditions for beauty to appear above. Even the smallest pebble of cooled lava carries the story of fire and patience. You think of the slow cycles of eruption, cooling, erosion, and growth. Mountains rise, rivers form, islands bloom. The earth's fire is never wasted. It is a gentle, persistent force that shapes the future with care. And in your own life, you notice how small, consistent changes like the steady pulse of molten rock can create profound transformation over time. The rhythm of creation beneath the surface mirrors the quiet work within yourself, the reshaping of thought, feeling, and understanding. The sun begins to set over your imagined landscape, shadows lengthen, and the cooled lava reflects fading light, shimmering softly like embers. You feel a connection to the planet beneath you, to its warmth, its patience, its creative energy. You realize that fire is not merely a destructive force, it is a sculptor, an artist, a patient gardener of land and life. And as the evening deepens, you rest in the knowledge that beneath the surface, transformation continues quietly, gently, endlessly. You begin by settling into the rhythm of the planet itself. Beneath your feet, the earth breathes in slow, deliberate cycles, its crust shifting imperceptibly like a giant exhale and inhale repeated over millions of years. You can sense this if you imagine the land not as static but as a living canvas of motion. Every ridge and trench, every mountain chain and oceanic plain is a note in an enduring symphony of movement. The plates beneath you are not solitary, they converse in pressures and nudges, in slow gestures that are almost imperceptible to a single human lifetime, yet each movement is deliberate, a careful adjustment to the presence of another. You feel the subtle push of one plate as it slides against its neighbor, a frictionless dance of persistence and patience. These interactions are not violent by nature, they are the Earth's meditation, a balancing act maintained over eons. You imagine the Pacific plate, immense and restless, pressing gently against the Eurasian plate, and the tension softens in your mind, not as force but as careful negotiation, a lesson in patience and grace. Where plates diverge, new land is born. You can picture the mid-Atlantic ridge where the North American and Eurasian plates slowly drift apart. Molten rock rises in quiet, rhythmic pulses, filling the space with patience and creativity. You feel the heat not as a threat but as a gentle warmth, shaping landscapes in an ancient, deliberate artistry. Each eruption of magma, each spreading ridge is the Earth's way of breathing outward, a slow exhalation that balances the inward pressures of distant plates. Even in creation there is restraint, a quiet mindfulness in the choreography of tectonics. Converging plates speak in a different dialect. Where the Indian plate collides with the Eurasian plate, mountains rise in elegant persistence. The Himalayas grow not with urgency, but with the slow insistence of geological time. You feel the weight of these peaks, not as an oppressive force, but as a testament to cooperation. Through resistance, every fold in the rock, every fault line tells a story of negotiation and compromise. You sense the gentle friction along these boundaries, an exchange of energy that is precise, controlled, almost tender in its subtlety. The earth does not rush, it moves in deliberate increments, reminding you that even great force can unfold with patience and care. Transform boundaries, carry a quieter, more lateral conversation. You can trace the San Andreas Fault in your mind, imagining the Pacific Plate sliding past the North American Plate, a measured glide that releases tension in a gentle rhythm of occasional tremors. These shifts are not chaotic, they are disciplined, small adjustments, maintaining equilibrium across vast expanses. You feel the lesson in your own body. As you picture it, harmony exists not in stillness alone, but in motion held in attentive balance. The earth is never entirely static, yet never entirely frantic. Its wisdom is in the quiet mastery of adjustment, in the patience of imperceptible change. The ocean mirrors this harmony. Currents trace the contours of the seafloor, responding to subtle rises and falls, to the slow tilting of underwater mountains and trenches. Water presses against rock with a soft persistence, following the land's guidance while shaping it in turn. You feel a gentle sway as you imagine the tides not as mere motion but as a living partner to the plates beneath. The interplay between solid and liquid, land and sea, is a duet composed over billions of years. In this duet, the planet whispers lessons about interdependence. Every movement matters, every response is meaningful, and every pause is intentional. Even the smallest tremors are part of this meditative practice. They remind you that balance is not perfect, that adjustments must occur. Microquakes ripple through the crust unnoticed by most, yet they maintain the larger equilibrium. You sense them as soft pulses beneath your awareness. Like the faint heartbeat of a calm mind, each subtle tremor is an acknowledgement of force, a moment of release that preserves the greater serenity. The earth teaches that tension need not lead to destruction, instead it can guide careful correction and continued harmony. The mountains and valleys created by these interactions carry a quiet poetry. Imagine the Andes stretching along the western edge of South America, a testimony to the persistent push of the Nazca Plate beneath the continent. Every cliff, every canyon is evidence of sustained patience. You feel the slow upward lift, the steady compression that forms peaks over millennia, and it feels as if the earth is writing a gentle story for you, line by line, layer by layer. In these formations you discover the beauty of cooperation. Even when forces oppose, they produce something enduring, something graceful. You notice that the rhythm of tectonic harmony is not linear. Plates may accelerate, slow, or even pause in their journey, yet despite these variations, the overall motion remains balanced. You imagine yourself as a leaf on the surface of this moving planet, carried by the slow current of time, sensing the ebb and flow of energy, the soft give and take that sustains the continents. You feel connected to this ancient patience, a gentle kinship with the earth's deliberate tempo. The lesson is simple but profound. Lasting balance arises from subtle, continuous adjustment, not from sudden dominance. Even the seismic scars the once disrupted landscapes speak of harmony regained after an earthquake. After the abrupt release of pressure, the land settles into a new configuration. Mountains continue to rise, valleys continue to deepen, and the rhythm resumes. You sense the resilience of the earth, a quiet reminder that even when the dance falters, the music never truly stops. There is a wisdom in this endurance, a soft, unspoken guidance for how to live, adapt, adjust, and move with care, sustaining the flow rather than resisting it. You let your awareness drift across the planet, observing the vast quilt of plates stitched together by patience and pressure. Each movement is both independent and collaborative. You feel a profound sense of trust in this process. The earth does not hurry, it simply persists in its gentle negotiation. Push meets pull, rise meets sink, and the landscape evolves as a slow, graceful dialogue. You feel a quiet serenity in knowing that these massive ancient forces are neither random nor chaotic. They are deliberate, mindful, and harmonious in their ongoing conversation. As you rest with this vision, you feel your own breath synchronize with the rhythm of the plates beneath you. Notice the subtle pull and release in your body, the tiny adjustments that allow you to remain upright, to move, to exist. It is a reflection of the planet's own dance, a harmony sustained through patient sensitivity and awareness. The earth's quiet motion becomes a meditation, and in this meditation you find your own stillness, your own sense of connection. The dance of plates continues beyond sight, beyond the reach of immediate perception. You sense that every ridge, every trench, every subtle shift is part of a vast, ongoing practitia, lesson in balance that invites curiosity and reflection. You feel a gentle anticipation for the next moment, the next chapter of the story, knowing that the earth's quiet movements hold secrets yet to be noticed, rhythms yet to be felt. You lift gently from the surface carried by an invisible wind, and suddenly the world spreads beneath you like a soft, living quilt. Mountains rise like exhalations from the earth's body, their peaks brushing the sky. Valleys fold softly between them like the gentle wrinkles of a breathing being. You notice the ocean's vast and quiet, shifting slowly with the rhythm of tides, as if the planet itself were inhaling and exhaling through the water beneath this peaceful exterior. You feel the pulse of motion. The Earth is alive in subtle ways, its crust composed of massive plates floats on a denser flowing interior of molten rock. You imagine the liquid heart of the planet, hotter than any fire you've ever felt, moving in slow, endless currents. This heart hums quietly, invisible yet ever-present, shaping continents, raising mountains, opening seas. You imagine it like blood through veins, reaching every corner, nourishing life without pause or thought. As you drift higher, you notice the rivers winding across the continents, silver threads connecting mountains to oceans. Each river carries a story of erosion and creation, of seasons and storms, of life that depends on its patient flow. You see forests, their canopies swaying gently in the wind, breathing in carbon and exhaling oxygen. Every living being contributes to the Earth's rhythm, from the tiniest microbe in the soil to the great whales gliding through deep waters. The planet's motion is both subtle and magnificent, a harmony of forces that seem almost conscious in their persistence. Your eyes follow the tectonic plates as they move imperceptibly, colliding, grinding, and pulling apart. Mountains rise where plates push together, valleys and rifts open where they drift away. Volcanoes fierce and sudden break through the surface, spewing molten rock that hardens into new land. These eruptions are moments of creation, fiery breaths in the ongoing life of Earth. You feel awe but also calm. Even the violence of tectonics is part of a larger, gentle story, a story that has lasted for billions of years. You close your eyes and imagine yourself inside the planet, among the molten currents. The interior glows with warmth, moving like slow rivers beneath your feet. You sense the immense pressure, the weight of kilometers of rock above, and yet the motion is persistent and graceful. It is as though the Earth dances in its own way, each layer responding to the other, a choreography too vast for you to see fully but clear in feeling. The lithosphere drifts, the mantle flows, the core spins, all together composing a quiet symphony of energy and motion. As your awareness drifts back to the surface, you notice the weather systems above. Clouds drift lazily, carrying water from ocean to land, shaping life in invisible ways. Winds circulate around the globe, carrying heat, moisture, and energy. Storms arise and fade, small exhalations of the planet's energy. You feel the interconnectedness of everything: land, ocean, sky, and the molten heart below. Each breath, each movement is part of an endless cycle of transformation. You begin to perceive time differently here, seeing not hours or days, but the slow, patient rhythm of geological change. Continents drift across oceans over millions of years. Mountains rise and fall, rivers carve new paths, and glaciers march forward and retreat. Life adapts to every shift, finding balance in the constant motion. The planet itself seems to exist without hurry, yet accomplishes all that is necessary for sustaining its myriad forms of life. Floating above it all, you sense a quiet intimacy with Earth. It is not a distant, inert rock in space, but a being with a heartbeat, a subtle pulse that you can feel if you listen closely. Each volcano, each earthquake, each ocean current is a note in an ongoing lullaby. You realize that the planet's story is never complete. Its motions continue quietly, unseen but ever-present, creating, destroying, and renewing in a rhythm that has lasted for eons. The forests you see from above breathe in harmony with the atmosphere. Trees take in sunlight and air, converting them into life-sustaining energy. Animals, from insects to elephants, play their part in this great cycle. Microbes decompose fallen leaves, returning nutrients to the soil. Rivers carry these nutrients to the seas, feeding plankton that sustain fish, whales, and ultimately the land. Again, you feel the elegance of this circulation, the endless exchange of energy and matter that keeps the planet alive. Below the crust, the Earth's core spins and generates a magnetic field, an invisible shield that protects the planet from solar winds. You imagine the molten iron and nickel swirling in synchrony, creating a soft, steady hum. This magnetic cocoon wraps the planet gently, a protective exhale that allows life to flourish on the surface. It is a hidden dance, mostly unnoticed yet critical. You realize that so much of the planet's life-supporting motion occurs quietly in places unseen but vital, a reminder that what sustains life is often subtle. You drift over deserts where sand dunes ripple like waves on an invisible sea. Winds move the grains slowly yet persistently, shaping the land with gentle care. You notice glaciers, their slow descent carving valleys and shaping mountains. Even ice is alive in motion, sculpting the landscape with patient hands. The Earth shows you that movement can be quiet, gradual, and still magnificent. As night falls, the planet glows under moonlight, oceans reflecting silver, mountains casting long, gentle shadows. You feel a closeness to the Earth, an understanding that it is not just a backdrop for life, but a living, breathing presence. Its story is ongoing, and you are a part of it. Even in your quiet observation, the heartbeat of the planet syncs with your own, a slow rhythm that brings calm and wonder. Finally, you notice how small and fleeting individual moments are compared to the vast patient motion of the planet, yet every moment contributes to the story just as every heartbeat of the earth shapes its future. You feel gratitude and reverence, a tender awe that wraps around you like a warm blanket, and as you drift higher the story continues quietly beneath you, the molten heart turning the plates, moving oceans shifting, and life persisting with gentle insistence. The planet whispers to you softly, a lullaby carried in motion, in currents and winds and tides. You close your eyes and listen. Its story is far from finished, and yet it hums in a rhythm older than any memory, softer than any sound, and infinitely patient. Somewhere beneath your awareness, deep in the molten heart, the story of motion waits to reveal its next note, a promise of gentle continuity carrying you toward the quiet mystery of what comes next.